Hi, it's the last piece of the puzzle, hopefully, and what we're going to do today is do some TIG welding. I've got the panel here, I've got it ready, so I'm going to take it for a walk around shortly, and but I thought what I might do is just walk you around my TIG welder for those that don't do a lot of TIGging, and just to understand what I'm doing. I'll tack the panel in place first with just standard TIG, and then once everything's in place, everything's looking smooth, and I can then go to pulse TIG. Okay, so I've cleaned up the panel. I've got my fit, which I'm very happy with from the last time that you saw it, and so we just keep it as simple as we possibly can. So come with me, come for a walk around the machine, and I'll tell you what I do, why I do it. Okay, let's do just that. Alright, so this is my machine. Okay, this is I don't know, 25 years old, but it's got just about everything. So up here it tells you what, I'm not sure you can see that, I think you can. It tells you what's going on. So up here, this button here is for pulse. So if I just press that for a moment, and let me just dial back down because I have to change some of the settings. Okay, so I start here with a hot pre-gas flow as soon as I hit my pedal. Okay, for half a second. I go up to hot start, and from that I'm starting at 50 amp quick start. Okay, from there I go to 120 amps. Okay, in my peak, the high part of the current, and remember this is pulse, and then pulse down to 20 amps. Okay, so my pulse width is 50%. In other words, 1 second, half a second on high, half a second on low. And my pulse frequency, at the moment I've got 2.9 set. That's nearly 3 pulses per second. Then I go to, all these settings here are for AC, which we're not using, and then post-gas flow. Alright, now my pedal dictates where I am with my peak current. Okay, in other words, I can go, depending on how far I've pressed on the pedal, up to 120 amps and down when I let, and it'll automatically go down to 20 amps. Okay, so, and then pulse width, pulse frequency, and then post gas flow again. Okay, so that's my TIG welder. I've got my torch is extremely flexible, as you can see, and I've also got here on the end a flexible neck, so that I can pull it right into myself and bend the neck over, as you can see. I'm using 1.6 millimeter serrated tungsten tips in this application, and down here on the floor you can see my pedal. And so for current, because I find it so difficult, there's no switches, nothing on here. I can't manipulate while I'm welding, and it's very hard when you're trying to hold it like a pencil, okay, and then to try and manipulate buttons and dials on this as well. I hate it, absolutely hate it. Alright, now this brings us to the panel. What I'll do, I've got, yes, heap of clamps around it. I'm going to start just in here, right between, and the idea is to make sure that you're very close. Okay, you can see there's no gap on that part, even though up to a millimeter gap would still be fine. And then what I'll do is tack along here on the upper side first. Now I've cleaned this with a wire brush on a angle grinder, and to get rid of any paint. So with TIG welding, terribly important to be as clean as you possibly can on what you're welding, and that you have a relatively good, or the better the fit, then the better the weld. Okay, so the next thing is that I've got a couple of places where I can put tacks, so that's all I'm doing for the moment, just tacking around the whole thing, putting it in place, and any tacks that don't look right I'll break and then redo. And the idea is to have this panel fitting flush. Okay, you can't have it sitting high or low, because that defeats the purpose of well, all the welding, any welding, even if you're MIG welding. Alright, so it's as clean as it can possibly be, and including the this other part here on the original item. Okay, yes, this was a bit of an old panel and it had a little bit of rust on it, but that's not important. For this, it's all cleaned off and it just looks a bit patchy. Alright, so we're just about ready. Now I mentioned the tungsten tip I'm using. Okay, if you can see that on the end. Alright, and seriated. I don't know what percentage of cerium. 2%. 2% according to this. Okay, so tungsten TIG, electrode, seriated 2% for DC welding, and color-coded grey. Alright, all the tungsten tips for TIG welding come color-coded for the various types of filling into the tungsten that you have. So you can't use seriated, well you could, but you're making trouble for yourself. You could use seriated for AC, well, aluminium welding, but it's got its own special infills in the tungsten for aluminium welding. Okay, what I'll do is set you back on the stand and get ready to weld. So I'll just put you on hold for a moment. Okay, this could be a slow and tedious process, so I think at this stage I'm going to have to probably, for the tacking process, speed this up something quite phenomenally. So I'll just see what you can see, and I'll tack ahead and just see how we go. Okay, so we're ready. That was quite fiddly, tacking all that in, and because it's taking quite a while, I had to fast forward that for you so you don't get too bored. I'm ready to pulse TIG it now, and I might have to move you a little bit around so that you can see. I mean, you don't want to see my back, and that'd be quite meaningless. So I might move you. I'll just pulse this area here and here. I've got to stay clear of the butt ribs, okay, because they'll contaminate the weld and just blow a big hole. Now I've already blown a couple over here because I had the buck underneath it. Okay, the weld's been cleaned up. No doubt after it's been welded it'll require a little bit of hammering there, here and there, but hopefully it'll all come out pretty well. I'm fairly happy with it, so you know, and it's probably the best I can do anyway. So let's just get on with it and see how we go. Right, I'll move you around a bit. Alright, so what I'm looking at, I haven't done much of course, and I'm just taking a look in this area here just to make sure that my welding is not creating too much distortion. Okay, which, yeah, I mean, that looks pretty good to me. So this is why I've cleaned it up a little bit, the weld. Okay, so that's reasonably flat both sides, and so what I've found is that I really need to, when I weld that, it does need a little bit of hammering, and you know, the grinding back is what you see. So I'm going to carry on and try and lighten up on the pulse TIG a little bit. So change the settings and just because I'm finding that the old metal is just wanting to run away. In other words, it just wants to collapse on me rather than work with me and weld. So I've got to manipulate and adjust the voltages a bit. In other words, turn them down a bit. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, here we are again. It's been a little while since I've released a video. I just want to try and finish this quarter panel, and the sun's really bright in this section here because again I've got to do it from outside, but I've TIG welded that panel in and I'm quite happy with that, except for up here on this edge. You see, I stopped here, right here, and then when I got to this section here, okay, the old metal was just it was just falling apart, boom boom, every time I touched it, and so that's caused me a real issue here. So I either had to cut out this panel here, but in addition to that I also got some, if you have a look you can see the daylight there and there, okay, see right there in the middle, it's dipping, okay, dishing out, okay, so and the metal is just so old on this section of the door, and of course I stopped right there, didn't I, which on reflection was probably not a bright idea. So what I'm going to do is and I think the reason I actually stopped there was because of this bracket that sits underneath here, okay, right in that section there where the buck sits, and in other words it's sitting something like that inside that panel, okay, so and I didn't want to interfere with this piece, and then that's what caused all this dipping and that, because I just couldn't work in that area because of this. So the lesson being, you've got to pull it all apart and just do it properly in one go. Alright, well I guess I've got to put that down to experience, or the lack of. So what I'm going to do is, I've opened that up, I've pulled this piece out, so I'll make a new one, okay, and it's got a slight curve and so on, so I'll make this up probably at the shed, but I've drawn a black line, come back into this 18 gauge metal right to the edge, so I'm going to remove all that and make a new piece to fit in there, so which will be bent over at right angles here, and then eventually it'll fall back on itself. So that's the plan at the moment. Okay, so I guess we'll just go ahead and cut it out. I'll put this, just shut the movie down for a moment while I cut that out, and we'll see where we stand after that. But that's you know, I was quite pleased with where I was going. This is good. This is all sitting fairly flat, as you can see there by the timber buck underneath it. It's sitting nicely, snug. Okay, a little bit of movement there, but that'll be pulled in when it's anchored at the bottom. So, you know, overall it's actually not too bad. Okay, except for right at this section here. So let's pull that out and see how we go. Right, I'll get back to you shortly. Okay, again, trying to get the sun out of it. There's my cut. Okay, right to the edge. And I'll just have to replace those. Okay, so this is the piece that got welded on. Just about to paint that with a etch primer. So as you can see, I've had to put a whole new strip along there. Now that's not fully welded, and I'll tell you why in one of the later videos, because I've got to make some adjustment there. Okay, so that's it there, and it's actually quite smooth and quite good. This is the fella that caused me a bit of drama in the last 2-3 months, and the next 2 videos, or even 3, I'll explain all about what's been going on. So that's an interesting story for next time. Okay, but as you can see, to do any work now, I've actually got to drive it out of my confined garage and back it out, and so that I can get all the panel work now done. And you can see here I've already started with the top shroud, but anyway, I'm jumping ahead of myself, so stay tuned for that, and it should be a couple of exciting, interesting videos for those that are keen on their engines. Okay, one final look at that quarter panel. Very pleased with how it's finished up. A lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of errors. But then again, that's the way it is. So I'm just about to coat that with some etch primer just to stop it rusting. Okay, that's it. Finish.